So Maria Pagano shared this lovely pattern with me. This is her mother's pattern, whose name is Dotty. So this is dedicated to Maria Pagano's mother named Dotty. And I had a lot of fun with it. It looks like my Crochet Vintage Rose T square that I made, but it is different. So I noticed that with this pattern, you'll get a slight wave with it, and the way that I joined it looks like there's a little bit of a ridge. But if you join it with the wrong side up, then the ridge would be on the wrong side instead. Now in Dotty's pattern, there is no pattern for the border, just the rose itself and the square itself. So there is a different rose. For the style is a little bit different from the rose that I made with my vintage rose. So Dotty's vintage rose has a little bit different pattern, which I like. So that's why I wanted to share it too with you. Now the other thing that you may want to do if you don't really like the wave is it looks like the way I made my vintage rose, I had less double crochet between the chain 5 loops. So you can try that too. Like you can use the pattern that I used with my vintage rose for the outer portion, or if you don't mind it, you can just use the same. You may have to block it a little bit, but it does lay flat if you block it. And once you add the different squares to it, it'll lay flat. So let's get started. A huge thank you to Maria Pagano and her mother Dotty. So for this crochet project, you're going to need your 6mm crochet hook, as well as your tapestry needle or darning needle, and a pair of scissors. The yarn that I chose is Lion Brand Pound of Love. This is some of my leftover yarn that I'm using for the main rose color. And then I'm using also Pound of Love. This is an off-white color or beige color for the border of the granny square. And then I'm using Red Heart with Love Premium. And this is all my leftover yarn. And I chose Evergreen for the green color. So you want to start with whatever color that you're using for the rose. And we're going to start with a slip knot. So you just take your yarn, fold it over on itself to form a loop. Take your crochet hook, go right through the loop, hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and your thumb. Then just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through the loop for a slip knot. Go ahead and cinch that knot down, cinch the loop around your crochet hook, and now we're going to make a chain. We're going to make a chain of 4. So you just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to slip stitch into a circle. So you just take your crochet hook, go into that first chain that you made. Then you're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and then bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. And you can see how you slip stitched it into a circle. And we're going to be working into the center of the circle, and we're going to be making 8 petals. So each petal is going to be a chain 3 loop. So you're going to start with a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to single crochet into the center of the circle. So make sure you're in the center of the circle. Bring up a loop. And then make a single crochet. And then you just made your first chain 3 loop. And we need 8 of them. So I'm going to make one more with you. And you can scoot your stitches over too, which is nice. So now you're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to single crochet into the center of the loop or the circle. And now we have 2 chain 3 loops. So So you're going to keep repeating this until you have a total of 8. So I'll make one more with you. Chain 3, and then single crochet into the center of the circle. So I have 1, 2, 3 chain 3 loops, and we need a total of 8, and then come back. So now you should have a total of 8 chain 3 loops all the way around. I just finished my last single crochet. So now we can go into the first chain 3 loops to make our first petal. So you just take your crochet hook, go into that chain 3 loop, bring up a loop, make a single crochet, then you're going to chain 1, then make a half double crochet into the same chain 3 loops. You just yarn over, go into the same chain 3 loop, bring up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 for a half double crochet. Then you chain 1, and then single crochet into the same chain 3 loop. And then you finished your first petal, but you want to make a slip stitch into the single crochet stitch between petals. So go into that single crochet stitch between the petal you've just finished and the next chain 3 loop where you're going to make your petal. So you just yarn over and then bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to make a single crochet into the next chain 3 loop, you chain 1, make a half double crochet into the same chain 3 loop, chain 1, and then single crochet into the same chain 3 loop. Then you're going to slip stitch into the single crochet stitch before the next chain 3 loop, and you're just going to keep repeating this all the way around back to where you started, and when you're finished you should have a total of 8 petals. I'm going to make one more petal with you. So I'm at the next chain 3 loop. I'm going to go into that chain 3 loop, bring up a loop, make a single crochet, then I'm going to chain 1, and then make a half double crochet into the same chain 3 loop. So you yarn over, go into the same chain 3 loop, bring up a loop, make your half double crochet, chain 1, and then single crochet into the same chain 3 space. Then you're going to slip stitch into the next single crochet. So you yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. So go ahead, finish making all of your petals all the way around, and then come back. Make sure you have 8 of them. Now, after you finish all of your petals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then you can make a slip stitch into the single crochet between petals. And then we're going to make the back petals. So you can take and chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can turn your work, and we're going to work into the back of the flower. We're going to make posts all the way around the back of the flower. So you're going to want to go across the back of your first petal and around the post of the base of the petal. So you can see that there's a post. Let me just point them out to you. So here's your petal right here, and then here's your post, and then here's your next petal, and then your post, and you have these posts all the way around. Now you want to maintain your 8 petals, so you should have 8 posts that you're setting up for your next round of petals. So you take your crochet hook, go around the post, and then you're going to make a slip stitch. So you just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and then bring the yarn around the post and through the loop on your crochet hook. And then you have your first chain 4 loop where a petal will go when we're finished. Then you just chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you just go around the next post. And then you want to slip stitch. You can see how I'm holding. Let me back up for you. This is how I'm holding my, kind of sandwiching it. And then I just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and then bring the yarn around the post, the back of the post, and then up through the loop on the hook for a slip stitch. Then I chain 4 again. And you just keep repeating this. Don't skip a post. You go around the next post for a slip stitch. And you can see how you're creating these posts around the back of your petals. And you're going to keep repeating that until you have a total of 8 of them all the way around. So now I just finished 8 chain 4 loops around the back of my petal. So here you can see is my first one where I started. So that's 1, here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then you have your loose yarn end here. You can go ahead and bury your loose yarn end to get it out of the way. You just use your tapestry needle. And then you just take and weave it through the center of the flower. I go through a couple of times just to make sure it's nice and buried. Then you can take and trim the loose yarn end after it's buried. Now you're ready for your second layer of petals. And again, you want to make sure that you have 8 of the chain 4 loops because you need 8 petals. So now you're going to go into your first chain 4 loop. So now for your first petal, you're going to go into your chain 4 loop and you're going to make a single crochet. Then you're going to chain 1, make a half double crochet, chain 1 again, and then make your second half double crochet. So each petal is going to have 2 half double crochet with the chain 1 between. Then you're going to chain 1 again and then make a single crochet. And then that's 1 petal. Then you're going to make a slip stitch into the slip stitch that you made between petals. So go into that slip stitch, yarn over, and then turn the hook upside down and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. And then you're just going to repeat the same petal all the way around, and when you're finished you should have a total of 8 petals. So now I'm going to go into the next chain 4 loop and make a single crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, so yarn over, go into the chain 4 loop, bring up a loop, make your half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, chain 1, and then single crochet. Then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Oh, not into the next stitch, but in that slip stitch between your chain 4s. And then you're going to have a total of 8 petals when you're finished. I'll make one more petal with you. So I just finished another petal. Then I'm going to slip stitch into the slip stitch that I made between the petals. And then I'm going to repeat this all the way around until I have a total of 8 petals. So now I just finished my last petal, and go ahead and count your petals just to make sure that you have 8. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So after you finish your last petal and you have 8 of them, you can make a slip stitch into the slip stitch between the petals. So you just yarn over and go through both loops for a slip stitch, just like you've been doing. And now we're going to make our next round of chain 4 loops. So you just chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to slip stitch into the slip stitch space between the petals. So there's 1. Then you chain 4 again. And then you go, we're still behind the petals, and you're going to make a slip stitch in the space between the petals. So here you can see I'm just right behind. This is the 3rd layer for petals, and this is the top. So this is the top. Here's the 1st layer. We just finished the 2nd layer, and now we're working on the 3rd layer. And it's made the same way. You just chain 4 and then slip stitch between the petals. Make sure that you have 8 of them, and then come back. So now you just want to count and make sure that you have 8 of the chain 4 loops. I just finished my last one. Now for this petal, you're going to have a total of 3 half double crochets with a chain 1 space, between each of the half double crochets. So for the first stitch in the chain 4 loop for the petal, you're going to make a single crochet. Then you're going to make your chain 1. Then you're going to make your first half double crochet. Chain 1. Another half double crochet, your second. Chain 1. And then your third half double crochet. Then you're going to chain 1 again, and then single crochet into the same space. Then just slip stitch into the slip stitch that's between the petals, between the chain 4 loops. And then you're going to repeat again. So you can see how I have one petal complete. And you're going to have a total of 8 of them again. So I'm going to make one more petal with you in the next chain 4 loop. So the first stitch is a single crochet, chain 1, and then a half double crochet. First one, chain 1, half double crochet. The second one, chain 1, and then your last or third half double crochet. Then you're going to chain 1 again, and then just single crochet into the same chain 4 space to complete your petal. Then you're going to make a slip stitch into the slip stitch between the chain 4 loops. And then you're just going to repeat this all the way around until you have a total of 8 petals in the round. So now I just finished my third layer for the rose, and this is what it looks like on the right side of the rose. Looks really gorgeous. I love this technique. Then if you turn it over, we're going to make our last round or row of petals, the 4th row. So you're going to start it the same way after you slip stitch between the petals. You're going to chain 4, and then you're going to slip stitch around the post of the slip stitch between your petals, just like we've done before. So I finished one chain 4 loop, and then I'm just going to repeat that all the way around, and when you get back to the beginning you should have a total of 8 chain 4 loops. So now I have 8 of the chain 4 loops all the way around, and I'm going to make my first petal. So go into that first chain 4 loop and make your single crochet, then chain 1, and then make your half double crochet. And this time we're going to be making 4 half double crochet with the chain 1 in between. So there's your first, then you just chain 1, make your second, chain 1, make your third, chain 1, and then make your 4th. Then you're going to chain 1 and make a single crochet in the same chain 4 loop, and then you finished your first petal. Then you're just going to make a slip stitch into the space between the chain 4 loops, just like you've done before. And then you're going to repeat this until you have a total of 8 petals. So now after you finish your 8 petals and you finish your slip stitch, you can go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and then just pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. And then you have your gorgeous rose. Now we can bury our loose yarn in. Just take your tapestry needle and then just weave the loose yarn end into the back of the petal. Then you can take and trim the loose yarn end, and now we're ready to make the green portion for the rose. So this is the back of the rose, and then this is the top portion of the rose. So you want to have the back facing you, and in the original pattern it showed that they were joining between the petals, but I found that when I tried that it didn't really show the beautiful green design for the leaves. So I joined at the tip of the petal. And that way you can see the beautiful design with the green portion. So I have the back facing me, and then I'm in that middle chain 1 space of one of the petals. You can just choose a petal on the back row petal, the row with the petals with the 4 HDC. Let me find my green yarn. So this is my petal, the back petal with the 4 half double crochets in it. And then I'm going into the middle chain 1 space, and I'm going to bring up a loop with my green colored yarn. So you want to chain 1. Then you can take and tie a knot. Then I have the back of the rose facing me, and I'm going to chain 1. And that's going to count as the single crochet in this petal. Then you're going to chain 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have a chain of 5. Then you're going to make your leaves into the next petal. So the leaves are going to be the corners. You need 4 corners, and then in between the leaves, the petal, you're going to make a single crochet. So I'll show you what I mean. So this petal is going to be a corner where you're going to have the 3 leaves, and you want to work into the center chain 1 space. Just find the center of the petal. You're going to yarn over twice. You're going to go into the center of the flower petal. You're going to bring up a loop. You should have 4 loops on your crochet hook. So you're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through 2 loops. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through 2 more loops. And then you have 2 loops remaining on your hook. So you're going to yarn over twice again. And then you're going to go into the same chain 1 space. Bring up a loop. Now you have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through 2 loops. 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through 2 loops. Now you have 3 loops on the hook. So you're going to yarn over twice, and then go into the same chain 1 space, bring up a loop, yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2 loops. Now you have 4 loops on your hook. So you're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 4 loops to complete your 3 treble crochet stitches together. And you formed 1 leaf. Then you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then you're going to make 1 more leaf into the same chain 1 space. So I'm going to make that with you. Yarn over twice, go into the same space, bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. Yarn over twice, go into the same space, bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over twice, go into the same space, bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. You have 4 loops remaining, yarn over and go through all 4 loops. And you completed your second leaf. Then chain 2 again, and then make 1 more leaf into the same space. So yarn over twice, go into the same space, bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over twice, go into the same space, bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over twice, go into the same space, bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. You have 4 loops remaining, yarn over and go through all 4 loops. And now you completed your 3 leaves, which will be in the corner. So you have one corner where you're going to have the leaves completed. Now you're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in the next petal, my yarn's getting tangled. Let me fix my yarn. Okay, so I made my chain 5. Now in the next petal, you're going to go into that chain 1 space in the middle and make a single crochet. Sorry. Bring up a loop and then make a single crochet. Then you're going to chain 5 again. And then in the next petal, you're going to make your 3 leaves. And you're going to repeat that all the way around back to where you started. I'm going to make the next 3 leaves with you. So yarn over twice and then go right into the chain 1 space in the center of the petal. Bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over twice, same space, then I have 4 loops on my hook, yarn over and go through all 4 to complete 1 leaf. Then chain 2 and then repeat until you have a total of 3 leaves. Four loops on the hook, yarn over and go through all 4 loops. Second leaf complete, chain 2, and then make your last leaf in the same space. Four loops, 3 leaves, then chain 5, single crochet into the chain 1 space of the next petal, chain 5, and now you're going to make your 3 leaves into the next petal. So go ahead, finish the rest, and when you're back to where you started, you should have 4 corners with the leaves. So now I finished my 4th corner, and then I have my chain 5, and I'm going to slip stitch into that space that I created when we first started, the chain 1 space. And then you finished the green round, so now you can go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and just pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. And then you can see how the leaves, you can see the leaves, the gorgeous leaves. In my opinion, you can see them a lot better this way. So now you can take your tapestry needle and take the green and then just go in towards the wrong side. And you want to bury the green yarn and just kind of weave it through. Make sure it's nice and buried. Go a couple of different directions to make sure it's buried. Then you can take and trim your loose yarn ends. So now you're ready for the beige colored portion. So you take your beige or white colored yarn and you're going to take with the right side facing towards you, you want to join in the chain 5 space. So here's a chain 5 space. I'm going to bring up, make sure you leave enough of a loose yarn end for burying in your work, and then chain 1. Then you can take and tie a knot. Then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to bury my loose yarn in, so lay it across the chain 5 space. And you're going to make 5 double crochet into the same space. This first chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, but so if this counts as your first double crochet, you're actually going to have 6 double crochet total in here. So we're going to make 5 more. So you yarn over, go into the chain 5 space, go behind the loose yarn end, bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2. You have 2 loops remaining, yarn over and go through 2. So you completed a double crochet. So yarn over, go into the chain 5 space, bring up a loop, make your double crochet. So go ahead, finish making a total, including that first chain 3 that you made, you should have a total of 6 double crochet in this chain 5 space. After you finish your 6 total double crochet, you can take and trim your loose yarn end on the back and then turn it back over. So now in the chain 2 space between your first 2 leaves, you're going to make 3 double crochet into that space. So you yarn over, go into that chain 2 space between your first 2 leaves and make 3 double crochet into the same space. Then you're going to make in the center of the middle leaf, so you're going to go right in the top of that middle leaf, and you're going to make a double crochet. Then you're going to chain 3 and then make 1 more double crochet into the same space. And then your corner is complete. So that's your corner right there in the middle leaf. Then into the next chain 2 space, you're going to make 3 double crochet. Then you're going to make 6 double crochet into the next chain 5 space. And you're going to repeat this all the way around back to where you started. There's 4, 5, and 6. Then you're going to make 6 double crochet into the next chain 5 space. Then you're going to make 3 double crochet in between the first 2 leaves in that chain 2 space. coming out beautiful. Then in the center, remember that's the corner, so you're going to make right in the middle of that center leaf, you're going to make a double crochet, chain 3, and double crochet in the same space, then 3 double crochet in the next chain 2 space. Then you just keep repeating this all the way around. So we just finished 2 corners. So remember, you have 6 double crochet in each of the chain 5 spaces. Then you make your corner, and then you keep repeating that all the way around, and when you're finished, come back and I'll show you what to do next. So now, after you're back to where you started, you can make a slip stitch into the top stitch of that first chain 3 that you made. So here you can see the top stitch, you go right into it, and then you're going to make a slip stitch. So you yarn over and then bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. Then you can chain 3 to start the next round. And you can see how my square is laying flat. So your square should be laying flat. And then I'm just going to give you my stitch count for this round. So I have 80 total stitches in the round. 80 total, I should say, double crochet stitches. I didn't count the corner chain 3 stitches, so just the double crochets. So now you're just going to make a double crochet into every stitch until you get to the first corner. So 1 double crochet in every stitch, and then when you get to the first corner, which is your double crochet, chain 3 double crochet, come back and I'll show you what to do. So now, including my chain 3, I have 10 stitches, which brings me to my first corner. Now I'm going to make a double crochet into the chain 3 space, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then another double crochet into the same space, and then I finished my first corner, and you can see that it's lined up with the leaf, the center leaf, and the previous corner. Then you just resume 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet in every stitch until you get to the next corner, and then you just repeat the double crochet, chain 3 double crochet into the corner and 1 double crochet into every other stitch back to where you started. Then when you reach the first chain 3 that you made, you're going to go into the top stitch of that first chain 3 and then just make your slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 3 and then repeat again. So I'm going to give you the stitch count from the previous round. So now I have 88 stitches in the round and it's still laying flat. Then you chain 3 to move up to the next round, and you just repeat 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet in every stitch until you reach the first corner. So now I have 11 stitches until I reach the first corner. In the chain 3 space, you make 1 double crochet, chain 3, and then 1 double crochet in the same space, and then you completed your corner. Then you just make 1 double crochet in the next stitch and 1 double crochet in every stitch until you get to the corner, and then you repeat that, and then you just repeat this all the way around back to where you started. So now you can see that it's still laying flat, and I just finished the next round. And how you can tell what your stitch count is by adding 8, because we're adding 2 double crochet in each corner. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So just add 8 to your previous stitch count, and then you have your new stitch count. Now our last stitch count was 88, so if you add 8 to that, you'll have 96. So I counted mine and I have 96 total stitches, so that means I'm making it correctly, and my work is laying flat, which is what I want. So you're going to continue repeating this pattern until you have a total of 5 rounds with the beige color. So this was our third one. So again, you just slip stitch into the top stitch of the first, chain 3, then you chain 3, and then repeat. So 1 double crochet in every stitch, except for the corners. You make a double crochet, chain 3, double crochet in the chain 3 space. And keep repeating that until you have a total of 5 rounds with the beige color. So now you can see how gorgeous it's turning out, and it lays flat. Now you will see a little bit of outpouching along the sides, and that's normal. So don't be alarmed if that is happening with yours. Then, once you finish your last stitch, you can go ahead and slip stitch to join the last round with the beige color. Then we're going to make a V-stitch all the way around. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So go into the next stitch, yarn over, and then just bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the reason why I started over on this stitch is because I want to line it up with the corner here, the V-stitch. So that's why I did that. And this first chain 4 counts as your first double crochet and chain 1. And then you're going to skip a stitch and then make a double crochet into the next stitch. So skip a stitch, go into the next stitch and make your double crochet. And then you made your V-stitch. So it's actually upside down, but it's called a V-stitch. Then you chain 1, skip a stitch, and make a double crochet into the next stitch. And you're going to repeat that pattern. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and make a double crochet into the next stitch. And keep repeating that pattern until you make it to the first corner and then come back. So now you made it to the first corner. You can see I made my last double crochet in the stitch right before the corner. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to double crochet into the corner, then chain 3, and make another double crochet into the same space. So your corner is made like you usually would. Then you just chain 1, and then you're going to skip a stitch and then make a double crochet into the next stitch. And then you're just going to resume your V-stitch. You chain 1, skip a stitch, and then make a double crochet. And you're going to keep repeating this pattern until you get to the next corner. And then come back. So now you can see that I made it to the next corner. You chain 1, and then you just make your corner stitch. Double crochet in that chain 3 space on the corner, chain 3, and then double crochet in the same space. So you just keep repeating this pattern all the way around back to where you started. So now I'm going to chain 1, skip a stitch, make a double crochet into the next stitch, and then just continue my V-stitches all the way until I reach the next corner and then repeat the corner stitch. Now when you reach the beginning, you want to make a slip stitch into the third chain from the bottom. So, or you can just count back because you want to have that chain 1 space. So make sure you don't slip a stitch into the chain 1 space. You want to go into the chain just after it. And then just make a slip stitch. Then you can go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and just pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. So now you just take your tapestry needle and put it onto the loose yarn end, and then you just kind of weave it through. Just go in and out, weaving it through your work. And then you can take and trim the loose yarn end. And then you're finished with the border, and then we're going to use this border to connect the squares. So this is what mine looks like. And it might curl up just a little bit, but that's okay because once we attach it to the other squares, it will lay flat. Or even if you block it. And block it means that you just kind of lay something on it, or you can pin it down. I'm not going to do any of that. You don't really need to do that. But those are what some people like to do. But you can see that the square turns out really gorgeous. And then now you just make several squares, except you're not going to make your next squares with the border. So make sure only your first square will have this border, because we want to join as we make our squares. So once you finish your square, come back and then I'll show you how we can join the squares with this V-stitch border. Okay, so now you have your second square, and this is the first square that we made with the border. Now I'm going to show you how I join these two squares when you're joining side by side. So later on I'll show you how to join the squares on top. But for now I'm going to show you how to join the squares side to side. So the first thing you're going to do is we're going to work into our corner on the second square. So you're going to chain 1 and then make your double crochet into the corner, chain 3 space, and then you're going to go ahead and chain 1. Then you're going to take the corner, the top right corner of your first block, and you're going to make a single crochet into that corner, and that will join the two together. So just bring up a loop and make a single crochet. Then you're going to make a double crochet into that second block corner. Then you chain 1, and then on the first block you're going to go into the next chain 1 space along the side. So you go into that chain 1 space on the first block, bring up a loop, make a single crochet. Then you're going to skip a stitch on the second block and make a double crochet into the next stitch. Then you're going to chain 1, and then you're going back to the first block into the next chain 1 space and make a single crochet. Then you're going to skip a stitch on your second block or square and make a double crochet into the next stitch. Then you chain 1 and then go back to your first block into the chain 1 space, make a single crochet, Then you're going to skip a stitch on your second block and then make a double crochet into the next stitch. And you're just going to keep repeating this all the way down the side of the two squares, and that will join your two squares together. So now you can see how it looks after crocheting the two blocks together. Now, depending on the yarn that you're using, it may curl up a little bit, and that's where you don't even have to worry about blocking, because as you attach your squares, it's going to lay flat. So don't worry if you see it curl up just a little bit. And then after you finish going down the center, then you need to continue making your corner stitch. So you can see how I attached it to the corner on the one block, and then I attached it to the corner on the other block. Then you're just going to continue your V-stitch. Just show a close-up. You have to continue your V-stitch around the second block. So you can see how I went all the way around the second block. Oh, here's the second block. So here I went all the way around. Let me show a close-up here. So here you can see how I joined the two corners. So here's the corner on the first block, and then here's the corner on the second block. So you can see how I joined it. Then I continued with my V-stitches all around the second block, and then when you reach the first chain 4 that you made, you want to slip stitch into the third chain of that first chain 4 that you made. That way you still have your double crochet, your chain 1, and your double crochet to finish up the V-stitch for the round. So now you know how to attach the blocks side to side. So now I'm going to show you how to attach the blocks top to bottom. So I showed how to attach the blocks side by side. Now I'm going to show you how to attach the block on top to the bottom one. Now, you normally would continue to add side by side blocks until you had the width that you wanted for your Afghan. But for mine, for video tutorial purposes, since I showed you how to do the side by side blocks, now I'm going to show you how to go to the next row and add your top blocks. So here I'm going to add a top block to the bottom block. And I've already started. And I'm just going to show you, because with this flower I accidentally did an error. And what I did was I made 2 of the single crochet next to each other. I still have the 4 corners, but I added too many on one side. And it'll still work for my Afghan, even though I added a little bit too much here. I'm going to just put that on the side of the blanket so you can't tell. And I'm going to attach the same size bottom portion to the same size for this, same size for the bottom of this top portion to the top portion of this bottom square, because they're the same size. Before I was trying to attach this size, so this is bigger than this, so I was wondering why it wasn't lining up, and that's why I caught my error. But I'm trying to salvage it so I don't have to restart this block. I think I can put it on the end and it'll be just fine. So it's going to be the same for you, because now your sides should line up. You want your corners to line up on both ends of your top block and your bottom block. So now I just reached the corner and I made a chain 1. Now I'm going to make a double crochet into this top corner block and then chain 1. Then you're going to take and make a single crochet into the bottom corner block, chain 1 again, and then make a double crochet into the top corner block. Then you're going to go into the let's see, yeah. Then you're going to go into the next chain 1 space and make a single crochet. Then you're going to skip a block on the top and then make a double crochet into the next stitch. Then you're going to go into the next chain 1 space on the bottom block, make a single crochet. Then you're going to skip a stitch on the top block and then make a double crochet into the next. You're going to continue that all the way down till you get to the corner. Okay, so now I reached the corner. So here I finished my last double crochet before the corner stitch on the top, and then I have one more chain 1 space before the corner on the bottom. So I'm going to make a single crochet in there in the chain 1 space before the corner on the bottom block. Then I'm going to make a double crochet into the corner stitch of the top block, then chain 1. Then I'm going to make a single crochet into the corner stitch. So right into the corner stitch of the bottom block. Then I'm going to chain 1 again and then make a double crochet into the corner on the top. And then that will join the corners. Then you can finish your V-stitches. So you chain 1, skip a stitch, make a double crochet, and then you just finish making your V-stitches around the top block. So I chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet, and you continue that until you reach the beginning. So now you have your top block over here. So you're ready to join your next block here. Okay, so now I started my next block, and this block has all the same size for each side. So I don't have to worry about like I did for the first block. So now you can take, I started at the top, made my V-stitches to the corner. I finished my double crochet chain 1 right before the corner stitch. Now I can make a double crochet into the corner stitch and then chain 1. Then I'm going to take and make a single crochet into the corner stitch of the block I want to attach to. Then I'm going to chain 1 again and then make a double crochet into the corner stitch of the next block. Then in the next chain 1 space you can make a single crochet. Then you're going to skip a stitch on the block that you're attaching and then make a double crochet into the next stitch. And you're going to repeat this all the way down the side. Skip a stitch, double crochet, chain 1 into the next chain 1 space from the block that you're attaching it to, skip a stitch, double crochet, and repeat that all the way down the side. So now I reached the corner, so I'm going to go ahead and make a double crochet into my corner, then chain 1. Then I'm going to go into the corner. Actually, I have one more stitch here. I'm going to make a single crochet there and then a single crochet into the corner. Then I'm going to double crochet back into my corner stitch. And I'm going to single crochet into the corner. Here is, let's see if we can find the corner here. Here's the corner, so I'm going to make a single crochet into that corner to join all 4 corners. And then I'm going to double crochet, skip a stitch and double crochet into this block that I'm attaching. Then I can take and make a single crochet into the next stitch, then skip a stitch and make a double crochet. Then I can just finish attaching the other side, and then I attached all 4 corners. So you can see how the corners are all attached and line up just like I want it to. And also you want to make sure that all of your roses are facing up too. So you don't want to have one upside down rose. So now I reached the corner, and you can make a stitch next to the first stitch instead of skipping a stitch if you need to line up the corners. So you want to line up the corners, and here you can see how I lined up the corners on these 2 blocks. So I can attach these 2 blocks on the end. So what you do for joining the corners is I'm going to make a double crochet into the corner block, chain 1, then you grab the corner on the opposite side, make a single crochet, chain 1, and then double crochet into the corner again. And then the corner is joined. Then you can resume making the V-stitches down the rest of the way around the block. So I'm going to chain 1, skip a stitch, and make a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, and then make a double crochet, and you're just going to keep repeating that all the way around. So now this is what it looks like when I'm finished, and you just keep adding blocks until you have the size that you want for your Afghan. Now with the rows facing up, and you're sewing or crocheting the edges together, you'll notice that there's a little ridge if you're crocheting with the roses up. Now if you don't want a ridge and you want it to be more flat, then you can sew your blocks together with the wrong side facing up, if you like that look better. And then this is what your edge would look like. So then you would have the ridge more on the wrong side. So either way, I think it looks good either way. I'm going to keep attaching my blocks to where it has a slight ridge on the front. So if you wanted to have it the other way, you can do that as well.